favourite cinema moments.
This
So
was
what we're
so
gonna do
hard.
is, yes, we're gonna go through like 2 or 3 of our like favourite cinema moments. So
Mm,
like a scene or a shot, and why we like them. It's not that these necessarily come from good films or great films, or
mm,
even necessarily from films we like, because there are some films I dislike that have cool shots in them. But these are just like individual shots or scenes that we're just like, you know what? Chef's
yeah.
kiss. I've gone pretty basic. I don't know if we'll do this again in the future, but none of these are probably going to be like, oh, I've never thought about that before. But these are just some of the first ones that came to my mind.
Okay.
I will start off with my first and we'll alternate.
Sure.
Awesome. So my first one, I feel like I've spoken about this before, but I think about this scene. You know these tweets like I think about this twice a day.
Mm.
I genuinely think about this scene multiple times a week. This
Okay.
scene, this scene has lived rent free in my mind since the first minute I saw it, and I don't think it'll ever leave my mind. It is genuinely one of my favourite scenes in cinema ever.
Okay.
The ascension scene in Into the Spider-Verse.
I forgot about Into
Yes. The use of the music. This film has a phenomenal
Yeah.
soundtrack, but the use of this music, What's Up Danger, as well as
Yeah.
inverting the image after he's jumped off the building so it shows him rising to the challenge and the demand of being Spider-Man, it is literally the definition of cinema. No one, like, at that moment was when I was like, we are in the beginnings of animation getting treated respectfully in cinema, because no live action production has ever made me feel the way that scene does. To this day, like, this is very much content creator brain. Every time I hear that song, because a lot of the songs from that soundtrack are on my playlists
Mm.
because it's such a good soundtrack. But anytime What's Up Danger comes on, I'll be driving and I have to really focus. Otherwise, I'll just start replaying that scene in my mind. I love that scene with all my heart and I will never ever shut up about it. It is the absolute pinnacle of cinema.
It is so well done.
Phenomenal. It's a masterpiece.
Right, I have a question about this as well.
Okay.
Is this only stuff we've seen in the cinema, or is this just stuff we've seen in films?
Seen
Like,
in films. If the
do
film
you
came
watch
out
it
in
at
the
home?
'60s before I was born and you were kicking about,
All right.
and then you only see it years later, it absolutely still counts.
Oh, God, that makes this even harder. I'm gonna do one that you will probably also like. Yeah, childhood. Um, honestly, the end of the Transformers film where Optimus Prime starts doing his speech and Linkin Park starts playing, and say what you want about those films, and they might not be the most amazing cinema, but for whatever reason, that final moment when that music kicks in, I think all of our generation are like, we could run through a brick wall for Optimus
Yes.
Prime. Like
Yes, no,
that
you
just
are spot on. That kind of scene is exactly what I want this kind of
mm,
concept to be. It's not necessarily about being a great film, but that is just one of them moments that just etches in your mind forever. It comes up on TikTok once a month for
yeah, it
me, and
does.
I do every single time I have to watch it. The voice of Optimus Prime is iconic. The monologue itself is actually beautifully written,
Mm,
and the way the music just cuts into it is phenomenal. And that scene, ironically, now that you've said it, is one of the first scenes that made me realise how much a good monologue in
anything.
film, TV, anything is second to none.
Yeah.
Giving an actor a prolonged period of time to portray an emotion is
Mhm.
phenomenal. It's the same kind of reason I love long individual takes. It's because it
Yes.
gives you the same thing but more in a physical way instead of a dialogue way.
Yep.
And it's just monologues are brilliant.
My favorite thing from like because our generation love that scene
Hmm.
is people now on like other films being like, if this film came out in
Yeah.
2000 and they
If
played
Michael
Linkin
Bay
Park,
made this film in
and it's
2008,
like
yeah.
it just plays Linkin Park over whatever the final scene of the film is, and it always works so well.
It is a trope I would love to see happen
Brought
in
back,
more
yeah,
films. The main
agreed.
character surmising what's happened in the film, or like where everyone is at the end of the film, with a little montage that cuts into a Linkin Park style.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yes, give it to me. All of it. Right, next up, my other
Hmm.
two are ones I know you haven't seen,
Okay.
so that I knew you wouldn't pick them.
Okay.
One of these I've spoken about at great length before, so you will not be surprised once I start talking.
Right.
Harley Quinn fight scene in James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So, um, this scene is when Harley gets her own kind of hallway fight scene, which we've
Hmm.
come to know from like Daredevil. But we experience it in like a shared insanity with her, and anything that is bloody or gory is replaced with pretty
Oh
flowers and
yeah.
rainbows and unicorns and stuff. And it creates such a juxtaposition with the beautiful visuals of the scene, because it's also pretty and light and beautifully coloured and saturated with colour,
Hmm.
while also having really brutal but very well put together fight choreography. And also it gives us that view into Harley's insanity and how she views the world. The closest you can get to what I'm talking about is in Kamiko in episode 3 of The Boys,
Yes.
when Frenchie's high and he
Yes.
starts seeing like confetti
Yeah.
and stuff. Imagine that, but dialed up to 11,
I think
and
I've
it doesn't
seen
cut
that
back to
scene.
the bloody stuff. It is phenomenal. Again, that scene is one of the reasons I love James Gunn's Suicide Squad so much, because it's an artistic decision. And I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I need people to just start going, fuck what you already know about cinema. I'm going to make a bold artistic decision and we'll see if it works.
Hmm.
And this is one of the ones that I'm like, very, very good. Enjoyed it a lot. 10 out of 10.
Now, my next one, I have in my head that you haven't seen this film. I could be
Okay.
wrong.
Okay.
It's Interstellar.
I haven't seen Interstellar.
I thought so. So there's
It's been on my watch list for about a million years.
there's two moments. One that both stick out. One is like the final scenes. So I don't want to mention that because I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't want to risk spoiling it because it is quite like visual.
Yeah.
It's more so a visual, like just effect that they did, and then it kind of like loops the story in and stuff. The one
Yeah.
that you might know of is the years of messages scene. So after they've come
Yes.
back off the planet that's moves slower, the moment where they like sit down or they get back to the ship, like that scene of them arriving back at the ship where they think they've only been 20 minutes and it's been several years, and the guy on the ship is like, holy shit, you guys are alive. And then there's this realization of like, wait, it's been years. Then they sit down at the computer and they realize they have years of messages from their kids. And the main character, he's sat there and he's just like watching video after video as his daughter's growing up and she's been sending these messages. And all of this, like,
Is that
it's
the planet where the soundtrack behind it has a like a rhythmic bumping, and
yeah,
every single like thing is a year passing?
yeah, but you don't
Yes, I've
obviously
heard about
realize
this
that.
scene. Yeah.
It's just like that way, that moment when you're watching it and the viewer is realizing what's happened. Because the scene before that was very intense for like 10 minutes. And then it all just hits you and you're like, holy shit. Like they are fucking with stuff that they're venturing into stuff they just don't know. And you start to realize the scale of what actually has been happening. And like, it's just so well done. That whole film's amazing. But yeah, Interstellar is like one that like really sticks in the mind.
Absolutely. This is one I know you haven't seen. I won't say too much to avoid spoilers because I know you want to see Dune Part 2.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but the final kind of fight scene of the film
Right.
is, I think, really interesting, and I've tried to make these all different
Mm.
in like the reasons they're in the list, but throughout the film, all culminating to this moment, there's lots of strands, and obviously there's lots of characters in the Dunes films, and they all have their own story they're following. And it's a really interesting moment because a lot of people don't like callback culture,
Mm.
and this film does it in a way that isn't obviously callback.
Right.
But what it does is throughout this scene, you feel the decisions made throughout it that have led here. You feel the weight of them all at once.
Mm.
It's like every like insignificant decision that you've spotted and you've remembered throughout the film.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it feels like this moment just goes, and now it's almost like you just see like the web explode in front of you, and you see how everything is weaved together. as well as having a phenomenally powerful choreography of the fight scene itself.
Mm.
And the way that that moment takes you using like this web of decisions to see and almost be reminded in an instant where Paul started to where he is now
Mm.
is some of the most powerful visual storytelling I've seen in the way it all went together, and I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, I still need to go watch them.
Yes, they are. They are incredibly good. And don't get me wrong, I know I said these don't need to be good films, and I've chosen 3 films that I objectively do say are very good. But you nailed the essence of this with the Transformers closing credits scene, because that is exactly what this is about.
I'm gonna change actually this and on the spot. It was more so one I thought of, but I was like, nah. But the way you've mentioned it at the beginning with like it can just be visual, not just necessarily like a certain
No,
scene or moment. You're gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna say the original Avatar film.
no, that's absolutely based.
Because
That's
I
absolutely
think
based.
I agree with you that the story is pretty simple, but from like the creative in me, the leap and the visual achievements they did in that film, and I am more than okay with the fact that it is just a 3-hour showcase of what Weta can do.
Yes,
I
my
think those films just visually push the boundaries and are stunning.
I've said it before. I kind of overcorrect my opinion on
Yeah.
Avatar to counterbalance people who think it's a masterpiece all round.
Mm.
In reality, my opinion of it is a incredible 3-hour tech demo.
Yeah.
Nothing more. It's Pocahontas in space. It's
Yeah.
not impressive storytelling. It's impressive visuals. I will die on that hill. The problem is the amount of people who go, "Oh no, it's one of the best films of all time." As a result, I feel we need to just go, "It's dog shit," and that is a
I get
personal
it. I
flaw of
do get it.
mine. But it's like if you're going to go around saying it's great, there needs to be another person going around saying it's
Yeah.
dog shit,
I
so
know,
that
I get
people
that.
get a better expectation of what they're about to see.
I have honorable mentions and
Okay,
some that I obviously the one that originally was on my list, which I felt was an easy one to pick, was Spider-Man: No Way Home when the OGs come in.
okay.
Or Far From Home.
I have a Spider-Man one as well.
Is it the Upside Down Kiss?
No, it is not.
Oh.
It is from the Raimi trilogy.
Is it the one where he comes
In
out the back doing the thrusts?
no, Spider-Man 2. When we
Okay.
get the shot of the reflection of Doc Ock's glasses, and you get like the long panning shot from the back of Peter's head in the restaurant with Harry, and it
Mm.
like zooms out and then pans around, and you realise you're actually watching the reflection of Doc Ock's glasses.
Oh.
Phenomenal.
Mirror tricks like that are always so good.
I loved it so much. I love it now. I don't. It's one that like a lot of people do forget about because it's not like one that comes back up a lot.
Mm.
But that's a Sam Raimi classic.
Yeah.
And it's one of them things that I think gives a lot of flavour to films. We need more people. We need 3 directors on every film.
Okay.
We need an action director. We need a story director, and we need a visual director. And I know what people are going to say. That's what writers are for, and that's what cinematographers are for. The problem is the director can like override them if they decide. I need them to not be able to tell the cinematographer no if the cinematographer's got an
So
idea for an awesome shot.
some directors are good at this, but they will have the head stunt coordinator essentially manages all the action in the film.
Yes,
And that,
it's
like
what we need.
that needs to become the standard, and then to trust, like, put these people in that were stunt men or stunt women that have become head stunt coordinators
Porridge,
need to be in charge of
should we
action.
become a producer team and just build the ultimate director of like a stunt coordinator, a camera dude, and a story guy? And we're just like, with the 3 of you and our producing, we will create the greatest director the world has ever known.
um, Another honorable mention:
Yeah,
the snap moment in Infinity War.
yeah.
I
I've
feel
got one that's very similar to that
okay.
in the way it makes you feel. So we'll discuss the feeling of these
Yeah.
together. It is the test nuke in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
where you lose the audio and then it all comes rushing back in.
Yeah.
These two scenes, and people are going to lose their mind. I'm comparing Christopher Nolan to Infinity War here, but fuck it, let's fight. Them two scenes are literally designed to create that same feeling.
Mm.
You get the big moment of the bomb goes off and the snap happens,
Yeah.
and then alongside all the characters, you're instantly just like, you're just
Yeah.
waiting. You're just hanging. It feels like in midair for hours, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then it all kicks in.
Yeah, I think Oppenheimer being a bit more dramatic and artsy, I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
right word, but we'll go with artsy, elongates that moment even longer.
Yes.
Infinity War being more of an action focus, doesn't let that moment sit for quite as long. But they're both going for that same idea of that, just you as the viewer, you just feel like you're floating in midair, not knowing what direction's what, just waiting to be told what's about to happen.
Mm.
And I completely agree that it's a masterful scene, that moment of just, oh shit. And it's that oh shit. And you can feel it in the cinema.
Yeah, everyone's like, especially for like the snap, which is like years of this build up of what the Infinity Gauntlet is, and then we find out what it's going to be used for, and then it's like, and then it happens. You're like, and then it feels like nothing's happening, and then when the first person like crumbles, and you're like, wait, and then it starts being like like certain superhero, and you're like, wait, no, oh shit, this is all just
Because who is it? One of the characters just turns and goes, did we just lose? I think it might be Star-Lord or something, but it's crazy. It's so good. So good. I love cinema. Forget like good stories. Good stories are great. They will always exist in a million different mediums. The power of cinema to create these moments that linger in your mind forever is just insane. I love it so much.
There's also on my honorable mentions is the car scene in Baby Driver. I think it's the opening one.
Yeah.
With the music.
That's a phenomenal
like
shout.
that's just so well done with the music to the action.
Mm-hmm. Edgar Wright is one of my absolute goats.
So that's
I love his match cuts that he's so well known for. And he uses them so well. Yeah, so let us know down below what one of your favourite cinema moments is of all time.
Yeah.
Let us know what moment you cannot get out of your head no matter how much you try. For me, it's Ascension. For Horry, it's the Transformers exit. What is it for you? What scene plays in your mind 24 hours a day like a psychopath?